Hi there, this is Justin Krane, certified financial planner professional and founder of Krane Financial Solutions. Welcome to Money You Got This. So how can you really live? How? By uniting your business money, your personal money with your life and your business. Word up.
Krane Financial is an SEC-registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only, and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products.
Hey everyone, welcome to Money You Got This. This show is brought to you by Krane Financial Solutions. I'm Justin Krane. I'm a certified financial planner professional. We offer investment management services and financial planning for entrepreneurs. I'm also the author of the book, Money You Got This. I'm psyched you're listening to the show. I want to give you this free report, 3 things multimillionaires do to grow their wealth. Just go to coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. That's coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. Thanks. Okay, enough about me. Today's guest is Beth Catalano. I don't even know what Beth has not done. I just went through everything. Oh my God, wait until you meet her and wait until you learn from her. So before I give the whole bio to everyone listening, Beth Ann, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Me too. So how did I find Beth Ann? I read about her in the Leeds School of Business magazine for the University of Colorado, where I went. And Beth Ann was featured, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to interview her. Why? She is the president of Ahava in North America. Ladies, Ahava, my wife has been there in Israel, the beauty and skincare company. They have like amazing stuff. Beth Ann runs that, and we're going to learn about that, about what she does. But everyone listening, let me just go into why you need to listen to Beth Ann. She has assembled, built, scaled high-performing teams in like 82 companies and risen to the top of the world and is awesome. She helps her team do sales, to do marketing, e-commerce, operations, finance, and administration. Not to mention, this is a show about entrepreneurs as well. She's been an entrepreneur. She's run a few companies. She's been featured in various publications, been on TV and all that kind of stuff. She's very, very smart, very analytical, and super cool. That's my official intro. Beth Ann, welcome again.
Thank you.
All right, let's start off at the beginning. You worked at a department store, and then you worked there for 3 or 4 years, and then you became a VP at Escada. Like, how did you do that?
There was a couple years in between, Justin, definitely. But I started my career like everyone in my field should, in my opinion, and that is at the very, very beginning step. I call it the first rung in the ladder. And I kind of found a way getting into the beauty industry, and I was a beauty advisor for Clinique back when Clinique was certainly a small brand, and now it's probably one of the 3 top largest brands in the world. I was very insecure as a child, as well as a young teenager and adult. I was very insecure about how I looked, just like many young ladies are, and I muscled up the courage to go over to the beauty department in my local department store, which was the Denver Dry Goods store in Boulder, Colorado. And I think I was 16, maybe 16, 17 years old. But again, I was there with my little polyester suit on and, all the things that I knew how to do at that point. And I found the courage to go up to these really pretty girls behind the counter. And I just said to one of them, and of course I picked the one that was, I found later was the toughest one of all. And I said to her, how can I do what you do? I just really would love to do what you do. And she looked me up and down, and I thought, okay, she's going to, blow me away, and that'll be the end of, my career in beauty. And instead, she was really touched that someone was asking her for help. And so she spoke to me for a few minutes and then actually set up an interview with her account executive. And lo and behold, I got the job. So that was the beginning of a lifelong career in the beauty world. And I remember that very fondly. When people ask me, as yourself, to visit and talk about career, I say that is the first and the best experience I've ever had in my career, because I learned to speak to the customer. I learned to understand and really ask the customer what their needs, what they thought they needed. And that was something that was really interesting because even today I ask the same question as I did then. And this was a long time ago, but I ask the same question today of someone, maybe of your wife. If I ever speak to your wife, the question will be, what concerns you most about your skin?
Hmm.
And most people don't know how to answer that. And I learned that that gave me an entree to start to help them by suggesting things that were more appropriate for their skin type. So that is the philosophy I've always taken, is to ask and to question and really to get into somebody's head and to make sure that I understand what their need is first, especially as you grow in your career and you have teams of people that work with you and that you hire and that you develop. You really need to speak their language because everybody speaks a different language. So one of the things I think you saw in the article, which I live by, is I look to bring out the best in everybody every day, and especially
Yeah,
the people that I work with.
sure.
And that is key to success. It's truly something I feel is a key part of success.
Yeah, we're gonna hit that. What a great answer. Like, I have 18 questions based on what you just said.
Uh-oh.
The first one is courage. Again, this is a show about life, money, and business. And um, I'm curious. I mean, you had the courage to go up to the lady in the department store and eventually get a job and all of that. What does courage mean to you?
I think it means to me that's really taking that comfort zone that you have and stepping outside of that circle. And as if you look and see, and you imagine a circle, and most people operate within that circle all the time, which is their comfort zone. And we go by, every single day doing things that are comfortable, etc. And then when you stretch yourself and you step outside of that comfort zone, so think about a bigger circle around that first circle.
Yep.
The real magic happens with regard to courage between the first circle and the second circle. So that little bit of distance in between. That is where you're really growing very quickly because courage makes you make mistakes. Courage makes you have victories. Courage makes you and allows you to learn. And I think that that's what courage means to me, is really finding that comfort zone and stepping beyond it and finding that magic of that in between.
How is it that people like have more courage than someone else? Like, are you born with it? Do you just like do it anyways? Is it a muscle? Because I know for me, like in my 20s and 30s, I didn't have that much courage. In my 40s and 50s, I'm having more courage now than I did when I was younger. So it's a hard thing. I mean, we can get complacent in business and in life, and we go like, no, I gotta push myself. How do you get more courage?
I think it's really a lot to do with your background and the things that you had to learn how to do to survive as a child. Some of us
Yeah.
have better family environments than others. And I think
Hmm.
that, if you've got a great family environment, it's a true blessing because you have a lot of support system. My husband and I have a daughter. She's now 31 years old. And people ask us all the time, why is she such a cool and good kid? And the reason is because she was surrounded by love every day of her life, by grandparents, by aunts, uncles, godparents, etc. Huge Italian family. I'm not Italian, my husband is.
Hmm.
So, I think that courage is developed in a family environment of true trust. But I didn't have that. I didn't have that privilege. I had parents that were a little bit different than that and not totally supportive and embracing. And so you learn to survive, and you have to take steps outside of what you normally do to survive. And you fall down. And if you're willing to fall down and get back up, um, the best you can hope for is you're going to fall down again and you're going to get up again because each time
Yeah.
that happens, it's a progression of learning.
Yeah.
So
I
I
love
don't
that.
know the answer. I think though that what you said, it is a muscle. It's just like a muscle that you're working out. And every time you work that muscle out, it gets a little stronger. And that's the same thing with courage. But I basically have a very clear head, according to my husband. And what that means is, first of all, I was like, wow, I don't understand that. But in his, but he got that from his father because my father-in-law used to say, you have a real clear head. And what I learned is it was a compliment because I didn't fill my head with, I can't do, can't do, can't do. I just went ahead and did it. Never really thought about it. My first business I was so lucky, knock on wood, which was very, very successful. This is the one that was with our television celebrity, and it was a hair care brand called Jonathan Product. We didn't even we didn't even think about success and we didn't think about failure. We just went forward every
You
single
just did
day
it.
doing, just did it.
I
And
love
looking
that.
back, it was probably not only the most fun I've ever had, but it was definitely the most successful thing from a monetary, monetarily, it was the most successful investment that I ever made. But
Uh,
yeah,
can we go deeper on that?
sure.
Because this is a show also about money. So what was this? How did the investment work when you went into this business? And how did the cash flow work? And the how did the financial success work out for you?
What happened was, again, very fortuitous being in the right place at the right time. That's a gift, by the way, and I think everybody gets gifts, and one of the gifts that I was, that was bestowed upon me honorably was being in the right place at the right time and recognizing that. You have to recognize it. So what happened was is that we tagged up with the celebrity hairstylist. He had a TV show called Blowout. It was one of the first reality TV shows on any channel. It was on this little tiny channel at the time called the Bravo channel, which we all know Andy Cohen
Yeah,
has made a lot of money out of that.
yeah.
And we started from scratch. We had no formulas. We had a celebrity who had a TV show. That was it. And my business partner and I, Tina, she and I got together. She was a marketing expert, and I was really running businesses and sales. And we got together and said, hey, let's do this. I'll bet we can raise $1 million in 6 weeks. And we did. And what we thought about was who could double dip? Who could get the most out of this if they put their investment into it? So what we ended up doing was going to a contract manufacturer, and their owner we pitched our business to, and he had a percentage of equity within the business, and then he also got a percentage markup on all the manufacturing he did. So he got to double dip into, his profits, and he was very generous. But he said to us, "I'll give you 6 months to hit X amount of money, or excuse me, X amount of sales, or I pull my investment and that's it. I'll just put $1 million in, that's it." And we hit the marker and then some. He stopped his manufacturing facility, or stopped the whole facility, stopped the manufacturing of some of the competitive products like the Estee Lauder Corporation products and stuff he did, to be able to produce a product, our one hit product that was called Dirt for your hair.
What did you sell? What was it exactly?
It was hair care products. So we had one of the first sulfate-free shampoos, which means it doesn't have any surfactants, or, it doesn't make your hair dry. We
Hmm.
sold a water filter that you attach to your shower head so that the water goes through the shower head and into the filter and out. So you don't get the minerals and chemicals within, your water on your hair. So you get really clean hair. But our number one product was called, as I said, Dirt. And Dirt was to give second day texture to clean hair, because clean hair it doesn't behave right. So with those three products, we built a $30 billion business in 18 months. And it was just, again, in the right place at the right time. Reality TV was, in its infancy. Sephora picked up the brand in a full store distribution, and they became our partners, which that just doesn't happen today. And we just kept on doing what we did. And, I remember sitting in a little hotel that gave us their dining room as our office, and we were just, plugging away, doing our thing. So, yeah, but we knew
Wow.
instinctively what we had to do. So to answer your question about money, the one fear I had within that business was the funding of inventory. And so we purposely selected a contract manufacturer because we knew that the inventory, if the brand takes off, it was in his best interest, doubly in his best interest, to keep the inventory flowing and to invest in more and more inventory. And that was what really was the success, if bottom line it, is that we had inventory and we could just continually take advantage of the TV show, where we had the product on the TV show, of course. And, we just couldn't sell enough of it. And but we had that inventory that was constantly being replenished, and it helped us continue our sales trend. So, yeah.
Wow. All right. So let me just make sure I got this. You raised $1 million and then
Yep.
eventually you did 30 million in sales with these
Yes.
products.
Yes.
And how long did it take you to do the 30 million in sales?
18 months.
Wow. And can you explain the inventory part of that? Like, did you carry the inventory or did the manufacturer just carry it there? And it was like buying it in real time when you got orders. What was the cash
No,
flow on that?
No, when you do business with a retail partner, you basically have to, they buy the merchandise from you, and obviously they stock their stores with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's how it works. He he owned the facility, so he was cranking out products left and right, hanging on to the products until we sold them. But we were very careful with the first order because we didn't know exactly what our first order was going to be. So he funded the business, and he kept on funding the business because he saw how much money that, he could eventually make until, we actually sold it. So I think that answers your question, but I'm not sure. I did not hold the inventory. I had an equity relationship with him. And so
Mm.
his job was to fund inventory and invest. My
Yeah.
job was to run the business, and
Yeah.
Tina's part of the business was to product develop, you know, utilize the names and that sort of thing. We were on the TV show for 2 years also as reality characters that were playing ourselves. And I was actually
Right.
known as the redheaded bitchy girl from New York because I was constantly saying, "Stop cutting hair, Jonathan. Pay attention to this business. It'll make you wealthy." And he would fight me and all the drama and all that baloney. But it was a very successful venture for us. Very, very much so.
Wow. How did you manage the cash flow of it? Like when you go from 0 to 30 million in sales, I know it's 18 months, but still there's a lot of moving parts to the cash flow and
Mhm.
managing that and just dealing with it. How did you manage the growth?
You know what? I think what we were focused upon more were distribution and product development. So we actually, with our contract manufacturer, he had a full team of people that were CFOs, that were COOs, etc. So we all partnered together to look at our individual competencies and see who should run what. And because there
Mm,
was a team of five of us, we met every day with the CFO to look and see exactly how much money we have left. But we were very lucky and very smart to choose this partner because he had a big part of equity. So he was not going to allow anything, the cash flow to go to a place where it became critical. And we
okay.
were very lucky in that respect, Justin. So I
Wow.
can't say that we were like typical businesses in it, but choose your partner wisely, choose your investor wisely is
Major.
my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you also on the show for 2 years that had to have helped. And that's amazing. I want to go back to the point that you made about talking to your customer, entering the conversation that they're already having, connecting with them, asking the right questions. And I want to bring in your career. I mean, you worked at Unilever, you worked at Louis Vuitton, now you're at Ahava. Talk to us. Just, I mean, that's just like, again, I don't know beauty like you do, but that's a lot of great companies, and you weren't there for a year or two. You were there for like 3, 4 years at each of these. So how did you manage your career? And a
Mhm.
lot of what you've done has been in sales and client management and business growth and all of that. How did you manage the customer and sales part in each of these companies that you worked at? And we'll get to Ahava, but talk to
Yeah.
us about Unilever and Louis Vuitton.
Yeah, Unilever owned the license for Calvin Klein fragrances. So I was recruited into the Calvin Klein fragrance division, and that's when Calvin Klein fragrances were at their height. I mean, just you couldn't even they were so scarce because they were just so popular.
Yeah.
And I came on as an area director, and then was promoted very quickly to a vice president, and that was my first vice president role. Um, I would say to you that the key to what I believe has been the common denominator with the different pedigree of companies that I have here is that I always prioritize relationships. And whether it was the relationship with the customer, whether it was the relationship with the team, whether it was the relationship with my management, I always managed relationships well and took the time and took the effort to make sure I understood what they were asking, what they were saying, what they needed. And if you do that and you're, omna relation, you have many, many different tentacles out and you can manage a lot of moving parts at the same time of relationships, it makes the job fairly seamless. And you learn how to delegate and you learn how to manage really that well, very, very well. Um, I think hiring the right people, that certainly helps you build a team and credibility. And obviously, once you're successful, Your relationships get you the next job. Your relationships get you the next job. Your relationships get you promoted. So I think that, one needs to really focus on being a good citizen. It doesn't come
Yeah.
from somebody politicking and self-promoting every day. If I had a criticism of my career, of myself, I would say I probably did not self-promote as I should have to be, even more successful. But that was not a priority. I knew if I did the right things by a team and customers, that reward of, my career growing would be there, and it was.
Yeah, we live in this world of like immediate instant gratification so much. And when you focus on the relationship, it's a long-term thing and you have to have a vision and understand that things take time. I'm really glad that you mentioned that. I agree. I think relationships are obviously important, but so many times we forget about the fact that the relationship is the most important thing. If we
Mhm.
nurture and create that, good things are going to come from that. So, how at Louis Vuitton did you grow the sales? Because I read about that. And how did you strategically do it?
So I belong to the LVMH Corporation, and I did not work in Louis Vuitton, which is one division of there. I
Yeah.
worked as the acting general manager for Guerlain, which is a fragrance company and also a makeup and skincare company. At that
Hmm.
point in time, the largest fragrance for Guerlain was a brand called Shalimar. And Shalimar was kind of a you love it or hate it kind of brand. Okay. You
I think
loved
I've
it
heard of
as a
that.
young, of course you
Yeah.
have. Your grandmother wore it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was the problem, is that our customers were dying, and there wasn't a
Mm.
youthful generation that really understood Shalimar. So part of the success that, I felt I needed to help was to find, it was basically at that point in time, you didn't call it because this was 2002, new customer acquisition. And, looking to develop a generation that appreciated our number one product, which was the Shalimar fragrance, and to appreciate the heritage, the Parisian heritage of Guerlain, and to understand the specialness of it. Um, that led us, with our customers to always have this cachet that we were special. And I don't think the people prior to me believed enough in the fragrance that it could be a younger generational fragrance. And that's how we actually won, is we developed a generation of folks that, were younger than I was at that point. So, I think I was in my late 30s then. But you're talking about 25-year-olds appreciating a fragrance that their grandmother wore. That's
Well, how
not
did
an
you
easy
do
thing
that?
to do.
How
Well,
did you do that?
I think it was, kind of fun stuff. First of all, at that point, and again, a lot of things have changed with retail, so that means a lot of things have changed with brands. But at that point in time, educating the people in the store was the most important thing. And it
Mm.
still is. It's
Hmm.
just done differently today. At that point in time, you went and you had teams of people that went into an account, scheduled trainings. I would go into a store and bring donuts in the morning,
Hmm.
and people, like to eat, and women still love donuts. And so they would be interested. And I'm like, hi, I'm Beth Ann, and I'm the, president of, or the general manager of Guerlain. I just stopping by the store. I want to talk to you a little bit about, a brand called Shalimar. And I always got the same reaction, like, Shalimar, just like you. It kind of
Yeah.
sounds like I kind of know that brand, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
And by the time we were done and told the story of it being, a love story, it's basically a love story, um, they started selling it. And we did that, and we kept on doing the same thing. We just kept
That's
on
so huge.
repeating the same thing. And
Yeah.
they loved us, so they learned to love the brand, and they started wearing the fragrance. These are beauty advisors wearing the fragrance. They can wear Calvin Klein, they can wear Tom Ford, they can wear anything they want. And they were wearing Shalimar, and I was just thrilled. But again, it all goes back to taking the time, and to your point, the commitment to develop a relationship, not just to get what you want and move on. And
Yeah.
that was very
Amazing.
important. Yeah.
Amazing. All right, we got to talk about Ahava. So, just tell us, what you do there, and I've got some questions about that. But what are you doing right now, as president of North America? Tell us about, some initiatives you're working on, and your team and stuff like that.
Hmm. So the business is very different. today than when I began working as the president in 2014. I was brought into the company in 2014 to really change the P&L, the direction of the P&L. At the point in time that I adopted the P&L in 2014, the brand was losing money, and it was just an overspending situation. It wasn't that there was anything wrong with the brand. It was just that there was a lot of marketing, and the business was losing money. And so I took a look at it, of course, with the team and made changes on the team. I had to, because there were people that just, knew how to spend money, but not, understand revenue whatsoever. And so we made some changes. And what happened was I started looking at every cost center and looking to see how could we be more efficient in this cost center. And it wasn't hard at all, because there was just so many things that I saw that could have been done efficiently and also probably better in certain ways. And I'll give you an example. We had 40 independent sales reps that could sell anything they want. They probably had 5 or 6 brands that they were selling. Why would you want 40 independent reps when you can have a distributor that does the same thing and that calls on the same accounts? So unfortunately for them, I discontinued the independent sales rep force, which has administration and payroll and education and sales meeting, all these costs, and then went to a distributor who, the person that owned it used to be my boss, actually at Guerlain, and he started a company that called on all of these independent stores, and so I gave him the business, and we've been in business ever since. So that was just like one example of some of the things that needed to change. And at that point in time, we turned the P&L around very quickly. In the second year, we actually gave the business $2 million in profit, which on the base of the sales, it was very large. At that point in time, I was then asked to become a part of the board, and I was promoted to the CEO. And actually, today, my title is CEO of North America. I'm not the CEO worldwide. I report into the worldwide CEO in Israel.
Sure.
To answer your question, I was then asked, what do you want to do with the business? And I said, well, it's nice and pretty and shiny now. What do you want to do with the business? And it was owned by a group of individuals from Israel that lived on a kibbutz. The kibbutz members owned the majority of the business, and they were at the point where they wanted to sell the business. So the next job I had was to make it real pretty and to help them sell the business. So we formed a team of executives, 6 of us, and the business was shopped, and we found a buyer within a year and went through due diligence and were purchased that next year.
Yeah.
And now we're owned by not a small independent kibbutz and a small company at the shores of the Dead Sea in Israel. We're owned by a very large, and if you will, the LVMH type of business that's out of China, and a company called Fosun, Fosun. They're very, very large company. We own Cirque du Soleil. In fact, I think we just sold Cirque du Soleil. We own Club Med, some of the Atlantis hotels, Lanvin, Links of London, St. John, Wolford. We own all those brands. So
all right, I gotta ask you a question about when you started at Ahava. So, and you wanted to, like, you looked at all the cost centers, you wanted to cut costs, you wanted to make the P&L profitable. So lots of entrepreneurs have like 6 initiatives that they want to do, but they don't really know which one to do. They can't really do all 5 at the same time. They might not have the right people. How did you decide like what to do first and how many things to do at the same time? Because I think a lot of people are it's hard to do that, to make a lot of change and to see it through. Like, what would you tell someone who's going to be put in your shoes to do something like that for their business with your experience?
Look for any type of revenue source that works within your business model, and then look at the obvious things that you can cut costs. It's pretty simple. Coming from a sales background, what I didn't share with you is while I was cutting costs in 2014, I was also out there myself opening new distribution. So, on one hand, I'm out in new distribution, and I spent my life, working with those partnerships that I had with other brands hey, it's Beth Ann. I'm now at Ahaba. You know about Ahaba, and we were able to open up a lot of distribution in the first 2 years, many, many, many stores, over 2,000 stores. And at the same time, I was looking for that fat that I knew that if we did, it's simple, Justin. It's like if you look at your costs and you make sure that you're most efficient in your costs and you're constantly opening new revenue sources, then
Yeah.
it's a winning combination. It's not easy. I don't think I focused specifically on, there were many things that needed to look at to be cost cut. And I only did the obvious ones. Okay. I'm
Hmm.
sure there was a lot more.
Yeah.
We needed to change our third party distribution facility. I'm not going to take that one on. That's a huge one. But
Yeah.
what we did do is that we looked at how we were managing our third party distribution center and our contract. Reviewed the contract with them, and we negotiated a better contract with them, as opposed to making a big change, which would have changed, that would have been a huge project. So, just found alternative ways to make the business healthier from a cost standpoint, but always focused on new revenue and new accounts. Without that, you don't have a business. You
Yeah.
just don't have a business, you know?
I want to pivot to women in business, women in leadership positions in everywhere. I've worked with a lot of women entrepreneurs, and I think they're so much fun with and really strong and ambitious and all that. Just give us your thoughts on women in business, where you see things now, what you see on the horizon.
I think that I'm pretty traditional in that respect, and that when I started in this industry, in the beauty industry, it was completely run by men. All the management was men,
Yeah.
and all the nice lower level, if you could break into management lower level, were girls, not women, girls, and
Hmm.
that's how they referred to us. I waited it out because I knew eventually the industry would become female dominated as its management, top management, and that's exactly what happened. We all know each other. I mean, we all grew up together. We've run different businesses. We're all friendly, but we all know each other because we grew up together. And I'm talking about the other women in the industry. I
Yeah.
think today, um, I still think that there's still that same feeling that there's a big difference between how men run businesses and how women run businesses. When people say that, a man's strategic and a woman's emotional, there still is some of that feeling there that, you know, that your sex identifies your management style. Um,
Hmm.
in my particular business, it's very natural to be a female because it's a female dominated customer.
Sure.
Um, but even in other businesses, I don't know the tech industry. I don't know your industry, but I do know that this is where I belong and that I chose it specifically because I felt that I wouldn't have to deal with that as much.
Yeah.
And as a result, I did. I had to deal with it a lot. But you know what? There is one thing that you cannot take away from a person, and that is if you know your customer and you know exactly what the need of your customer is, no one, no matter what sex you are, but particularly to my case, I became very credible quickly because I knew exactly what our customer was needing. And so, men didn't. And I hate to
Yeah.
be men versus women. Today,
Oh, I love that credibility part. I love the credible part, the reputation. I wanted to ask you about like branding, you know, being credible and all that, but I think, yeah, no, like if you have that as a woman, you got to run with it, and
mhm.
people can see that, and that's amazing. So great
Well,
job.
and sometimes you self-reflect and you wonder how the industry and your team and everything else views you. And we've had a lot of this, HR things where they basically your team gets to rate you and all of that. And I've sat through many of that. But I learned something about myself that I never really knew, and that was when you learn your reputation from your competition and learn what they think of your reputation, it's really very powerful because it's what what your persona, what obviously you're projecting, and that they're picking up. And I learned that what most people felt is that I was very tough, but very fair. And I don't
Hmm.
think you could ask for something better than that.
That's great.
Yeah.
I have to ask you about working with your team and for a business owner working with his or her team, how do you, as you're saying, tough and fair, how do you get buy-in from your team? How do you empower them? How do you motivate them? How do you get the best out of them?
I think it all starts with the right selection. You have to be very committed to finding the right people, and you also have to be very committed to not hiring someone just because you're desperate to fill the position. If you do
Hmm.
that, it's very dangerous. It's, landmine waiting to explode. You cannot, and I've learned this in many years I've been in business, you cannot instill passion in people. They either come with it or they don't. You can't manage somebody extremely well if they don't have passion for what they believe and how they work. So I would rather take someone that has less experience but has a lot of passion than someone that's had a lot of experience and has little to maybe average passion, because I am confident enough that I know that I can teach anybody that really wants to learn, teach them how this business works and what they need to do to be successful. But if you don't have that, Justin, I,
Yeah,
it's not the right combination. You and I would not you, but that individual and I would
yeah,
not
yeah,
be successful with each other.
yeah.
So how do I manage the team? I take the attitude that I'm going to teach them something every day and that they're going to teach me something every day. That's it. And that's how we work. That's how we work. I constantly ask their opinion of things. And if their opinion is not, it's their opinion. But if they're going down the wrong road, I think gently steering them into the right place, it's how you approach it. I had someone come
Sure,
in my office the other day and she said, "Hey, look at this. This is a great, why don't we put this offer and put it out there and everything?" And I looked at and I said, "You did the P&L, let me look at it." Because we look at every offer, we look at what our costs are and what the potential
sure,
upside is for making. Okay. A lot of
sure.
people don't do that. A lot of brands don't do that, by the way. But every single time we look at it. And she was going down the wrong road. She hadn't considered her shipping costs. She hadn't considered some of her cost of goods, that, things that were like warehousing and things like that. She had not considered that. So instead of just saying, "Why didn't you do that?" We had to start all over again. We talked through, okay, this looks good, but the P&L line that has warehousing, what's the number that goes in there? Oh, there's no number in there. Well, do we have those costs? So you have to have the patience, and it does give you the reward. And again, this is the long term. It's like we were talking about,
Yeah,
a commitment to a relationship. This is
sure.
exactly the same thing.
And how
Same
did
thing.
she take it when you went back to her and were like, "Hey, what do you think about this? Have you thought about these things?" How did
Right.
that go?
Well, again, I know this individual. I understand. I've learned her language. She was someone that I did not hire. Um, she's someone that I did suggest that the other part of our team hire, because she actually was. She worked for a shoe company on customer service, and I bought a pair of shoes and I didn't like them. And I called up customer service and she handled me and she did it well. And lo and behold, we had an opening in customer service, and she walks in the door the next day and she says to me, "Hi, I yesterday on your shoes that you didn't like." And I said, I'm you're going to be hired in a second, because I knew that she had the passion to make
Yeah.
me satisfied. Others don't. Others, are more numbers people and that they get that part, but they don't understand how to sell it. So, you got lopsided stuff going on. There's, it's a rare individual that understands how to manage numbers and how to really manage people at the same time and what works and what's that combination that works. It's a rare individual.
Mm.
Um, in my business, you have people that really are great at numbers and they consider all the things, but they can't sell
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
then this individual I'm talking about, she started in customer service and she's now head of our marketing department in the US. And, so it was that definite commitment to see that she had the passion to learn. And she came to me with nothing
What a
except
great story.
passion. Yeah, she's great. She's a success story, bar none.
All right,
I also,
I gotta ask you this last question. Because I read about this. You said your darkest days will bring you the most light.
yes, yes. And I've just
What do
had
you
this
make of that?
experience.
And
Yeah.
let's go a little deeper there.
Um, like I think a couple of things. First of all, I've never ever found myself jealous of anyone. I've been envious, but not truly jealous. And then, as long as you understand that about yourself, or, you just constantly understand that that's how you roll, you don't have those insecurities of thinking somebody's better than you. They might have
Hmm.
something that you don't have, like free time, but at the same time, you still are pretty much okay. Um, I, like everyone else, had disappointments, some major, some very major, some not as major. Recently, my husband's in politics, and my husband is a New Jersey assemblyman, so he is an elected politician in the state of New Jersey. He ran for mayor of a town, and he lost by probably 1,000 votes. Okay,
Wow.
and the disappointment. I helped him with the campaign, not tremendously, but I helped him with his campaign, and he worked very hard at it. And the devastation of something like that publicly um, is some of your darkest days,
Mm.
because you know that everybody knows, you're not sure what's
Yeah.
going on, it's a loss, etc. But I do think too, I remind myself, and I swear this is true, and I'll tell you the good ending to the story. If you believe that everything truly happens for a reason, and it's the best reason, and you will find that things will turn around to something even better, okay, and that you're in that dark day because you believe that there's light, and this dark day is to teach you something to get to the light, then you will be happy in most extraordinary ways. As it turns out, my husband, because he put the hard work in and because he lost the election, he was turned around, and they the, the group of people in the county said no, 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 and they offered him a county clerk's job, which is another elected position. It has twice the responsibility, twice the pay, twice the everything, and he was offered that 6 weeks later, and now he's going to be that for our county, which is a much more powerful position than mayor would ever be. So I think, it was very dark at that point in early November when all of this was happening. But honestly, the light has been, it brought to us. And I'm a real big believer in that. I think that's something that, you have to believe in your heart. So
Yeah. Oh, that's a good story. Well, it has been so good to have you on our show. Tons of great things. It's been great. And being a fellow Colorado Buffalo, thank you for coming on. Go Buffs.
yes, yes.
And where can people either follow you and just learn more from you? What's the best place? Maybe LinkedIn. I'm just somewhere where they could go to just learn more about what you do.
Yeah, two places. Number one, LinkedIn's always a good one, and I'd love to, post some of the things that we talked about on the
Sure,
LinkedIn so
sure.
that, it can promote you, and it can also help, people understand what we're talking about a little bit more. The other thing is I will be starting my own, you know, following in a different way, and I can't announce it yet, but I definitely want to be a beauty influencer, and not just talk about skincare. I'm going to talk about some of the things that we've talked about today because that's part
Sure,
of beauty.
sure.
And for a certain group of women that, when you're over the age of 50, women stop taking care of themselves, and
Yeah,
in many different ways. And I don't,
sure.
I want that to stop. I want that to stop. So, but today, let's say LinkedIn, and I'll post when, we go out to a bigger forum. Okay.
Great. Well, thank you again for coming on. It's been great to have you on the show.
Thank you. And anytime, Justin. Thank you again.
Have a question? Want to get in touch with us? Need some help and advice with your finances? Just go to coolmoneyshow.com and reach out to us. That's coolmoneyshow.com.
Krane Financial Solutions is an SEC registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products. No investment decision should be made based solely on any information provided herein. We do not provide legal, accounting, or tax services. We recommend that all investors seek out the services of competent professionals in any of the aforementioned areas. Certain information provided has been obtained from third-party sources that we believe reliable. However, it's not been independently verified and is not guaranteed.